If you've been asked to participate in a multiple mini interview, an MMI, then you're going to have to participate in a variety of short, problem-based stations, meeting with interviewers, or working collaboratively with others. Traditionally, these stations last around 10 minutes, and there are often 12 stations in each interview. However, as the MMI has grown and spread over time, there are now a lot of variations on those details. So today, I want to help you understand the MMI structure and give you some tips for planning in advance for those kinds of variables. Before I get into that, hi, my name is Dr. Sarah Klebe, and I'm an admissions expert at BeMo. If you'd like our help preparing for your MMI, simply go to BeMoMMI.com and we'll get you started on your preparations by putting you into contact with one of our admissions experts. Now, on to those MMI tips. So, understanding the MMI structure, planning ahead, and accounting for variables. As I said, MMIs can vary in any number of different ways, but there are some fundamental components that are the same. So let's talk about the similarities before we talk about the variables and differences, and talk about how to try to plan for some of these. So wherever you're going, whatever you're doing for the MMI, whatever professional program you're trying to get into, you're going to go through a similar set of steps. Before meeting with the interviewer or engaging in the activity at the station, you're going to be given a prompt. So you will usually approach a room with a closed door, and there will be a written prompt, usually a written prompt, on that door that you have to review in a certain amount of time. This could be a specific question, a scenario where you're asked what you would do, a role for you to play with an actor, a quote for you to consider and reflect on with the interviewer, and you're given a short time to think about that prompt, usually 2 minutes. Again, the prompt is usually in text format. Some people are starting to incorporate video-based prompts into their MMIs, so be aware that that's a possibility. After you've finished reviewing the prompt and the time for that is concluded, you'll hear a buzzer. And after that buzzer, you enter the interview space with the interviewer or with the actors if you're in an acting station, other interviewees if you're engaging in a collaborative station or something like that. And at that point, you're given a limited amount of time to discuss your answer, solve the problem, or do whatever it is you've been tasked to do in the room. Generally, that time is anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes. During that interview time, if you've finished your answer before the time is up, the interviewer might have follow-up questions to ask you, and you'll have to attempt to answer the follow-up question or questions, again, within that same allotted time. If there is no follow-up question, then you simply remain in the room with the interviewer until it's time to move on. Once that time is up, you'll hear another buzzer, and that means it's time to move to the next station where the whole process starts all over again. When that concluding buzzer sounds, it's critical that you stop your answer, even if you haven't finished. The interviewers are instructed to not let you go over the time limit, and so violating that boundary could reflect poorly on you. It's one reason why practice and preparation is really important, so you know how much you can say in a given time, and you get a feel for the rhythm of the stations. More on that in just a minute. So, trying to plan ahead for this can be a little tricky. First off, you need to prepare for the MMI questions, prompts, scenarios themselves. There are all kinds of different types of MMI questions or stations, and it's really important that you review sample questions and answers so that you get a feel for the kinds of things that tend to be asked. But generally, this isn't across the board, but we can say in general, each station is going to involve something new. a new patient or a client for you to engage through an acting station, a new issue that you need to problem solve around, a debate that they want you to opine on in terms of policy or something like that, or a new team building type exercise that they want you to complete collaboratively with others. The prompts for stations are often somewhat vague or have the possibility to be interpreted in any number of different ways. That's completely intentional. So it's important that you understand that if you are feeling a little unsure about the prompt, that's probably intentional. That's probably what was intended. The challenge is to see how you are going to navigate that ambiguity. So this is why, again, preparing with realistic scenarios is incredibly important. So again, that you get an understanding of the kinds of things that are asked, because you never know what you'll get asked on the day of. And preparing with timed MMI simulations is also incredibly important, so that you know how much you can say in a given time. And again, you get a feel for the rhythm of the stations. Now, in terms of variables, I alluded to some of these, but let's lay it out really clearly. The number of stations themselves can vary, anywhere usually from 6 to 12 stations. The amount of time that you have to read the prompt before entering the room can vary from school to school. The amount of time to actually answer the prompt or to do the activity or to act out the situation varies from school to school. Sometimes the prompt that's on the door will also be printed inside the room with you, so you don't have to try to memorize it. You can see it when you're in the room, but that's not always the case. And as well, whether you're allowed to have scratch paper with you in the room to sort of jot down notes, or whether there will be scratch paper for you when you go in the room, that varies as well. So, this can really make a huge difference in your experience. All of these different variables and understanding what it is that you're actually up against. There's a big difference in how you're going to approach things if you know that the prompt will be inside the room for you and not just on the door. There's going to be a big difference in how you prepare if you know you only have 6 minutes to answer versus having 8 or 10 minutes to answer. Having 2 minutes to review the prompt initially versus 2.5 minutes, having 6 stations versus having 10 or 12 stations. All of these things are going to impact your performance, especially if you're going in not knowing what to prepare for. So, if they are generous, prior to the MMI, they will give you a lot of these details. They will tell you how many stations there's going to be, how many minutes you'll have with the prompt, how many minutes you'll have in each station, and things like that. But they don't always give that information. And if they don't, it does not hurt anything at all to try to find out. So I strongly encourage you, if you haven't been given these details, first, review all of your communications one more time, check your email spam inbox to make sure that nothing slipped past you that has some directions and instructions. Then check their website and see if they have any details about their MMIs posted there. If not, you can call or you can email. They won't always tell you if they've intentionally withheld this information, but it really doesn't hurt to ask, because preparing is key. If you go in prepared to sit only through 6 stations and there are 12, you're doubling your sort of load for that time. And if you haven't prepared for that, then you haven't prepared yourself effectively. You're not ready for as much as you can possibly be ready for in the MMI. You're never going to know everything that's going to happen. If nothing else, you're never going to know what prompts or questions or scenarios or acting stations or anything you're going to get. So removing as much of that uncertainty as possible is going to help you prepare effectively. It's also going to help your confidence and your stamina on the day of. You want to enter your final station as fresh and bright and engaged as you are when you enter your first station. And you are going to do that most effectively when you have the most information accessible to you. One word of warning though. If you are not able to get this information from the school's website or from the school itself by directly asking them, don't rely on those who have done the MMI with this program at this school in previous years. They can certainly tell you what their experience was, but these details can and absolutely do change all the time. So if someone else did an MMI for the same program last year or 2 years ago, you don't want to assume that that's what it's going to be like for you, because it's entirely possible that they've changed. Maybe when they did it, there were only 8 stations and you had 6 minutes apiece. Maybe this year they're doing 12 stations at 10 minutes apiece. That's a huge difference, again, especially in terms of your own stamina. So, as well-meaning as such advice may be, and as eager as you may be to seek it out, don't take that word as law. Only take for certain anything that you've heard from the school. And by all means, follow up with them and ask them if you're not sure. Worst case scenario, you walk away with no more but no less information than you had before. Best case scenario, you walk away with everything you need to practice your timing perfectly. You'll probably end up somewhere in between those two extremes, but at least you'll be more prepared than you were before that. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful. If so, please do go ahead, like it, share it with a friend who might benefit from it. Be sure to follow us on whatever social media platform you're on right now. If you'd like us to help you with your MMI prep, you can go to BeMoMMI.com or just follow the link that should appear either above or below this video to see our programs and schedule your free initial consultation. We'll set you up with one of our admissions experts to answer any questions you might have and get you started with your preparations. We have programs to suit any of your needs, and we're always happy to work with you to determine what plan is going to support you and your goals most effectively. As ever, thank you so very much for your time. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.